Hi, it's Kristina, and welcome to my channel where we talk about leaders progressing into exceptional leaders. And today I'm really excited to talk about the concept of authentic leadership and what that really means and why it's so important. So before we get into the details of authentic leadership, we really need to understand the concept of ego versus your true self. Now, the part that's really interesting for me is that we all have ego, yet not all of us understand the impact it can have in our leadership style, in the relationships we have with others, in our families, friends, even coworkers. There's healthy ego and there's not so healthy ego. And unless you're in some sort of executive program where we talk about ego on a much deeper level, you might miss the value of understanding yourself, right? So when we think about ego, unhealthy ego, it has a tendency of always wanting to win. And it will do whatever it is necessary to put itself in that situation. It will lie, it will cheat, it will hurt people, and it can be very damaging to your overall relationships. I actually call the ego the destructor if it's not managed properly. And when you understand that, or you can catch it in action, you can pause and have some awareness and refrain it from causing some real damage in your career or in your life. So when we understand this concept of ego, we can learn to manage it in a way where it works for you and not against you. You know, one thing I've learned through certain environments, corporate environments in particular, ego is definitely one of those things that surfaces in who's the smartest. It's very competitive, not in a healthy way, but competition where they're knocking people out. There could be office politics. There could be some really nasty behavior. And unfortunately, organizations have really recognized that and almost rewarded it, because this is how, at least in the past, I've seen senior level leaders get jobs, how people have progressed to get promotions, and there's a lot of unhealthy behavior. So the ego actually really excels in that environment, the unhealthy ego, if you're unaware. So for example, if you're a high achiever, like I have always been, you are constantly looking for things to feed your ego, constantly. Like, give me another award, tell me another competition, how can I be the best? Look at me, look at me, look at me. It's almost like these unhealthy fixes in order to get there. Now, when you learn that the ego is not working in your favor, you can actually start to shift in a way that you can be highly effective without causing all this damage. Now, the other part of ego, which we don't really talk about all that much, but is so important to understand, your ego will always make you live small. And you must be like, what? What do you mean by that? Your ego does not want to look bad. So it is that little voice inside of you telling you, oh, don't do that. You're going to fail. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Oh, they're going to laugh at you. You're going to look really silly if you actually take risk. And it takes you away from a place of trusting yourself and really operating in a place that's more fear-based and image-based, all external stuff. And when you understand that this isn't really working for you, you can start catching it in action and then shifting to a higher level of leadership, which is authentic leadership, which is being in alignment to your truest self. And I'm not talking about those individuals who they come into environments and they speak their mind and they are unkind and they just say, well, this is my voice and this is how I speak. And that is not what authentic leadership is for me. Authentic leadership is all about alignment into your best self, your highest self, which is showing up in a place of compassion, empathy, gratitude, appreciation, showing up from a very different place, from a place of confidence, where you can be a little bit vulnerable and it's not fear mongering for you. It's not, you're not worried about what other people will say. And it's actually from a place where you own your story. You're confident in who you are. And for me in particular, I really am more interested in the stories where you've had adversity in your past and you've learned to own it. And when you own it, it's in those areas that you end up inspiring others to be the best that they can be, believe it or not, once you get past it. So when you are operating in this true place, this authentic place, it's the opposite of being ego-driven. And it is operating in a place that is very connected and genuine and can help others on your teams to be able to connect and grow at a different rate. When we understand that and we can check the ego and manage it, it will actually help you move to a different level. So when you have ego, go back to ego for a second. A healthy ego is something very different. Healthy ego is, what keeps you motivated, how you charge yourself, but it's not about proving anything to the external world. It's about your process and being the best person that you can be. Very different place to come from. So when you understand this concept, and the more you feed your ego, your unhealthy ego, with things like toxic environments or having to be the winner in all arguments, trying to crush people in order to be successful, trying to use fear or lie or all these horrible tactics, the more you will bring into your life. If you feed the other, your true self, then you will show up in a different way where the more compassion you will bring in your life, the more inspiration, more motivating, the different type of leader you will bring in and into your organizations and into your team. But this is a you journey. This is authentic leadership. This is bringing it to a whole different level and not looking for external factors to try and get you to be the best you. The first place that you need to go to is to start to get to know yourself and start to do an inner explorer to connect with your true self. And your true self is the most powerful place that you can be. And I had to learn that the hard way. I was very ego-centered. I couldn't get enough accomplishments and projects and give me more, give me more. I loved it because it was coming along with acknowledgement from the external world. But then when you flip it upside down, that external world disappears just as quick if you're not producing or if that ego isn't being fed. And if that ego isn't being fed, that can be a real dissatisfier for you. But if you move into a place of authenticity, then you are fueled from within. Then you can identify like what your superpowers are, what are your blind spots. Then you can diminish those areas where you are getting triggered because you understand yourself and you understand your stories. This is life-changing if you're willing to do the work. So the other part I want to say, there is no quick fix here. This is about you understanding you. And I know from personal experience, it can be really scary to go down that path. I'm not too sure why. I think sometimes we're nervous about what we may discover, but I will tell you, it's actually an illusion. It's not as scary as you think. False evidence appearing real. That saying there around fear. Learning to just look at it, release it, and then move forward so it doesn't limit you in everyday life. So these are things to think about. It is so important in order for you not just to live, your best career life. It's about you living your best life. And if you are in alignment with your truest self, you are in alignment to truth. The things that you really love, the things that will inspire you and really be aligned with your greater purpose. So if this resonates, give me a follow because I share tips and tricks to get you back to your best self. Thanks.